There's another report of sexual assault in Athens.
Changes are coming to street parking uptown.
And in sports, both Ohio basketball teams play non-conference teams, but only one prevailed. Newswatch starts right now.
Broadcasting live from WOUB TV in Athens, this is Newswatch.
It's another report of sexual assault in Athens. Good evening, I'm Caitlin Coolidge.
And I'm Abby Grisey. Thanks for joining us. An Athens man is facing charges of sexual assault. APD arrested 23-year-old Mohammed al-Mashrafi Nasser yesterday and charged him with rape and abduction. Nasser was transported to the Southeastern Ohio Regional Jail and appeared in Athens Municipal Court this morning. This is still an ongoing investigation. We will have updates on this story at woub.org. We now know the cause of yesterday's fire on North Lancaster Street. Athens Fire Chief Robert Reimer says the fire was started by an electrical failure. Co-homeowner Emily Crowdell said in a statement that a lamp was plugged into a timer and that either the outlet or the timer malfunctioned. According to Crowdell, the house burned for a long time before a passerby walked into the Athens Fire Department to alert them of the situation.
Food vendors in Athens have been in ongoing debate on how vendor permits and parking spaces should be used. Stephen Hernandez has a story and why it has taken so long to reach a decision.
Athens City Council is in its final stages of making changes to the permitting process for food trucks looking to operate uptown. The changes come after months of back and forth between the city and food truck vendors. Councilman Pat McGee proposed new parking regulations last April. He said vendors were not using all of the available spaces on Union Street, which kept residents from using them late at night.
These are public parking spaces for use by the public, and that when they're not using them, they're basically wasting the spaces while denying the public needed opportunities to shop in town, to use that end of town.
The ordinance was voted down by council, but food truck vendors like Damon Crane still felt that they were not being listened to.
When they decide to change the parking rules, they don't take that into account, that effectively they're making late night vending impossible.
Vendors agree changes are needed to the food truck permit rules. They argue changing the permit from yearly to monthly would allow them to reduce their operating expenses and give them more flexibility to be uptown during periods of high demand.
We don't want to pay for spots when we can't afford to operate in them. If we want to operate from them at all, it wastes our money and it takes away public parking that otherwise would be available.
Finally, after months of debate, Councilman Sam Crow met with vendors to create a new stopgap ordinance. It includes changing permits from yearly to monthly and making the parking spaces larger to meet state fire safety regulations. The ordinance will address some of the crucial permit process rules before a bigger ordinance is drafted next year. Vendors say the changes are a step in the right direction, but look forward to more sweeping changes that will help Athens' food truck culture thrive in the near future.
Athens is nationally renowned, not for the number of parking places that it has, but for its local food and beverage scene. Ultimately, I want to see a city government that recognizes mobile vending as the asset that it is.
For WOUB, I'm Stephen Hernandez.
The Athens City Council will vote on the ordinance on December 17th.
Police say a suspect was shot after pointing a gun at an undercover SWAT officer. Officials say the 18-year-old suspect robbed the undercover officer at gunpoint yesterday. A statement says the undercover officer was posing as a potential buyer or seller while investigating robberies. A SWAT officer providing cover for the decoy officer shot the suspect, who then tried to flee. Authorities say the suspect was taken to a hospital in critical condition. No officers were injured. A veteran officer at a Cleveland area jail is out of a job after an investigation of an inmate's overdose death. A Cuyahoga County spokeswoman says the officer was fired for failure to perform his duty and for falsifying records the day 47-year-old Joseph Arquillo died in August. Cleveland.com reports he did not make rounds, and instead he'd been distracted by other tasks, such as distributing inmate mail and medication. An American Catholic priest is in custody on charges of sexually abusing several young boys in the Philippines. 77-year-old Bernard Hendricks is originally from Ohio, but has been a priest in the Philippines for 37 years. His alleged victims have made formal statements to authorities. Some victims say Hendricks threatened them with prison if they told anyone of the abuse.
At this point in our investigation, our number one priority is to provide an opportunity to the victims and the witnesses to disclose any contact they have had with Mr. Hendricks. Given what we know thus far, we believe there's a high probability that other children may have been impacted by his alleged actions.
The Catholic Diocese is investigating the charges. Hendricks' lawyer says the allegations are not true.
Welcome to the Newswatch Weather Center. I'm your forecaster, Cameron Sliga. Outside we see it's 36 right now with light rain. It's cool out there with a southwest wind at around 10 miles per hour, and we're going to continue to see some rainfall. As we see up in Columbus, it's 34, in Newark 34, down in southern parts of Ohio up in the mid-30s, and down in Ripley and Ironton in the lower 40s, with some partly cloudy skies in West Virginia, and so we're seeing a mix of snow and rain up in Columbus. Currently on the maps, we see a cold front moving through, and we will start to see that moving through in the next couple hours, but how will that affect us? That and much more in my full forecast. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Cameron. A Bush family is holding a private burial service before the interment of former President George H.W. Bush. Family
and friends remembered the former president today in a service at the Bush's Family Church in Houston. Camila Bernal has the highlights from College Station, Texas, the home of the George H.W. Bush Presidential Library.
The life of George H.W. Bush, honored on Thursday by friends and family.
George Herbert Walker Bush is the most gracious, most decent, most humble man that I will ever know, and it's the honor of a lifetime to share his name.
Former Secretary of State James Baker delivered a eulogy for his best friend, recounting the president's many accomplishments.
After becoming the youngest naval aviator, he served in increasingly responsible positions on behalf of his country.
And giving insight into the man behind the presidency.
George Bush was a charter member of the greatest generation.
His humor.
He would look at me and he'd say, "Baker, if you're so smart, why am I president and you're not?"
And humility.
Be kind to people, he would say. And he was.
The state funeral culminating this afternoon with a journey aboard the Bush 4141, a rare locomotive commissioned in 2005 to honor the president. The train, once operated by Bush himself, carrying the statesman to his final resting place at Texas A&M University, where he'll be laid to rest beside his late wife Barbara and their daughter Robin, marking the end of a life, but not a legacy.
Because our glory, George, was to have had you as our president and as such a friend.
In College Station, Texas, I'm Camila Bernal.
Coming up, a former worker for George H.W. Bush is being considered for a top position in the Trump administration.
Plus, trade fears are affecting the market to go down. These stories and more when Newswatch returns.
WOUB is member-supported public television. Your contribution keeps WOUB available in your community. Become a member with a gift of $60 or more for access to stream more than 1,000 of your favorite PBS programs through WOUB Passport. Programs like Nature, Sherlock, and all episodes of Downton Abbey and Victoria. Pledge now at WOUB.org. And thank you.
This is a box that showed you a world beyond your own. It was just a box. But the world has changed, and so have we. And now the box can be almost any size or shape. And you decide what you want to explore. Anytime, any place. Break out of the box with PBS.
I'm such a huge fan of PBS. For my entire life, It's been our window into a world of the arts that isn't available anywhere else on TV. We learn about our numbers and our letters and singing through music, through the incredible children's programming they have. And then we grow up and we get to see the world of the arts, whether it's ballet or opera or Broadway, and so many other amazing moments that you wouldn't get anywhere else except for PBS.
I loved Ken Burns' series on the Civil War. It was deeply impacting. I love history. To have those stories told through these letters, through stories of love and loss, it rewrote the book on how to tell a story. When television was invented, there were a lot of people who had dreams about what it could do. I think PBS still aspires for and often succeeds at reaching the highest ideals of what television could be.
Someone who served under the late President George H.W. Bush could be the next Attorney General.
Sources say 68-year-old William Bill Barr is emerging as the consensus candidate to replace Jeff Sessions. Barr led the Department of Justice from 1991 to 1993. Another source says if the position is offered to Barr, he would be willing to accept it.
A bipartisan group of senators is preparing to take a stand against Saudi Arabia. Days after getting a CIA briefing on the murder of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi, some senators are ready to respond. The group of Republican and Democratic senators say they're certain Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has Khashoggi's blood on his hands.
There is no way that 17 people that close to that Crown Prince go to Turkey and murder a guy at a consulate and he not know about it.
The bipartisan plan may be on the floor by Monday. Meanwhile, other senators are calling for the CIA to brief the entire Senate on the Khashoggi matter.
The roller coaster ride continued for the financial markets today as fears of an escalating trade war between the U.S. and China caused the Dow to plummet when markets opened. Omar Jimenez is in Washington with the latest.
For the second market day in a row, global uncertainty leading to declines across the board. In the middle of it all, the relationship between the United States and China.
Markets are starting to get concerned with tighter financial conditions, inflationary expenses or risk, and now add on the trade concerns.
The Dow declined more than 2% Thursday at the opening bell after falling nearly 3% on Tuesday, and the ongoing U.S.-Chinese trade war added a new chapter. The chief financial officer of Chinese tech giant Huawei was arrested in Canada at the request of the United States, reportedly on suspicion of violating U.S. sanctions on Iran. But the arrest likely won't help ongoing tariff negotiations.
The only correct way to solve the trade dispute between China and the U.S. is talk and consultation on the basis of equity, integrity, and mutual respect.
And completely separate from that, OPEC may now be looking to cut oil production by as much as 1.3 million barrels a day after U.S. crude prices in November dropped at a rate not seen since the global financial crisis in October 2008.
Is it a million? Is it slightly less, slightly more? We have all day today and some of tomorrow to determine those numbers.
President Trump disagrees, tweeting Wednesday in part, hopefully OPEC will be keeping oil flows as is, not restricted. And with policy uncertainties still in play, market volatility will likely stay right alongside it. In Washington, I'm Omar Jimenez.
This market volatility may also be attributed to fears of a possible recession.
You might think it's cold right now, but it's so cold in China, they can make ice fog.
Well,
currently it is raining outside, but how long will that last? That and much more in my full forecast right after the break.
Member-supported public television. Your contribution keeps WOUB available in your community. Become a member with a gift of $60 or more for access to stream more than 1,000 of your favorite PBS programs through WOUB Passport. Programs like Nature, Sherlock, and all episodes of Downton Abbey and Victoria. Pledge now at woub.org. And thank you.
I love PBS because at the heart of everything PBS does is education.
I use PBS not only in my home, but also in my classroom.
It's kind of the idea of being the great equalizer for learning and for education.
I'm a lifelong learner, and PBS has always been part of that journey for me.
I love PBS because PBS supports teachers.
They know what works for kids and what's best for kids, and that's why I love PBS.
What are you doing?
Possibilities. Your day is filled with them.
Reach up, energy in the fingertip collapse.
TV play Downton Abbey.
And PBS helps everyone discover theirs. Anytime, anywhere.
Up in the sky, you can see it.
PBS, we're with you for life.
PBS had a special on Pearl Harbor, and once Landon started watching the show about the Arizona, he completely became fascinated.
That's Donald Stratton, and that's me.
And then his Christmas wish this year was to meet Donald Stratton, one of the survivors from the Arizona.
So good to see you, buddy.
Everything that Landon has learned from PBS, it's immeasurable.
This is for you.
Thank you, big guy.
He is living proof of the effect that PBS has had on his life.
China's northernmost city is experiencing an interesting phenomenon. Rare ice fog covered most of Mohe this week. That's when hot water is thrown into the air and it instantly turns into ice crystals. The Weather Authority issued the city's first ever cold weather red warning. The authority says the extreme cold will last until tomorrow. All right, Cameron, now over to you.
Welcome to the Newswatch Weather Center. I'm your forecaster, Cameron Sliga. We see 36 out there, cool with light rain. And on the almanac we see today is going to be 41 it was, and with a low of 21 overnight. We see the normal for around today is 24 and 46 for the high, which is right around what you would expect to see. As we see around the region, 34 in Newark, 35 in New Lexington. Down in Ripley we see a temperature of 40. And tonight in Athens, we'll see a temperature of 21 with snow. It'll be overcast throughout the night, and it'll be pretty cold outside with a wind that is 5 to 10 miles per hour coming out of the west. As we see, at 7 p.m., we're going to start off with rain, and then it'll start to mix right around 8 p.m., and then we should start to see, as the cold front moves through, snow moving into the area. And temperatures around the area tonight are going to be 23, 24 in Ripley, 20 in Columbus, and 21 in Athens. We're going to see some snowfall throughout the area as well. 21 tonight, chilly, and it'll be some snow. And for the bus stop, 21 out there, it'll be chilly, calm, and light winds. So it'll be one to bring the jacket out for. As we see the precipcast, the reason why is there's this low pressure with a cold front moving through, bringing with it some snowfall, and then we'll start to see a high pressure building tomorrow as we go out through the day, and that'll bring some sunshine throughout the area, and it should stay through the end of the week. As we see, tomorrow is 34, dry and mostly sunny with winds that are going to be calm, and our 7-day forecast, we start to see a warm-up moving through throughout the weekend as we see this beautiful sunny skies throughout the work week next week. And by Thursday, we may see a shower here and there with temperatures getting all the way up into the mid to upper 40s. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Cameron. There's a big recall involving a medicine you might have at home. The maker of the store brands of infant ibuprofen from Walmart, CVS, and Family Dollar is voluntarily recalling 3 lots of the meds. Tris Pharma says the concentrations may be too high and infants may be more vulnerable to permanent NSAID-associated renal injury. The brands of infant ibuprofen concentrated oral suspensions are Equate from Walmart, CVS Health, and Family Wellness at Family Dollar. If you have one of those, you should check with this pharma to see if it's included in the recall. After the massive romaine lettuce recall due to an E. coli outbreak, many are wondering if it's safe to eat it again.
The FDA is offering an answer to that, saying only if you know where it's coming from. Reed Binion has more in today's Health Minute.
It's been several weeks since a massive recall pulled romaine lettuce off store shelves across the country. So is it safe to eat again? The Food and Drug Administration says yes, as long as you know where it was grown. The FDA says only 6 counties in California are linked to the current outbreak of E. coli. Here's what you should look for. If the leafy greens were harvested in Monterey, San Benito, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, Santa Cruz, or Ventura, don't eat them. But romaine lettuce grown anywhere else is believed safe, the FDA says. 43 people have been infected with E. coli in 12 states, including 16 who have been hospitalized. Federal health officials are still investigating the outbreak and which specific grower is behind the recall. Until then, they warned that if you don't know where the lettuce was grown, you shouldn't put it on your plate. And lettuce sold at stores should be labeled with its origin, so check before you buy. For today's Health Minute, I'm Reed Binion.
One E. coli case was reported here in Ohio.
Now let's head over to Nick Niehaus to see what's happening in sports.
Good evening, everybody. Coming up, the Ohio women's basketball team pulled a major upset against a Big Ten team last night. I'll tell you who and give post-game reaction from one of the players. And the other Ohio basketball team, the men's team, was also in contest last night against a different storied program. I'll share the results and more coming up next on Newswatch. And make sure to stay tuned to WOUB. Here's a look at what's coming up tonight on your public television station.
This is a box that showed you a world beyond your own. It was just a box, but the world has changed, and so have we. And now the box can be almost any size or shape. And you decide what you want to explore. Anytime, any place. Break out of the box with PBS.
I'm such a huge fan of PBS. For my entire life, it's been our window into a world of the arts that isn't available anywhere else on TV. We learn about our numbers and our letters and singing through music, through the incredible children's programming they have. And then we grow up and we get to see the world of the arts, whether it's ballet or opera or Broadway, and so many other amazing moments that you wouldn't get anywhere else except for PBS.
WOUB is member-supported public television. Your contribution keeps WOUB available in your community. Become a member with a gift of $60 or more for access to stream more than 1,000 of your favorite PBS programs through WOUB Passport. Programs like Nature, Sherlock, and all episodes of Downton Abbey and Victoria. Pledge now at WOUB.org. And thank you.
Welcome back, I'm Nick Niehaus. Last night, the Ohio men's basketball team traveled to Cincinnati to face off against the Xavier Musketeers. I was able to watch that game live and recap the up and down battle. Sears got off to a very hot start, leading the Bobcats 15-5 early, thanks to their effective shooting going 6 from 8 from the field. But a few big threes from Antonio Coward Jr. and Ben Vanderplas gave the Bobcats life. And Jason Carter, who else, took advantage. He and Tavion Kirk led the Bobcats to 2 separate 8-0 runs to cut the lead down to just 1 point at halftime. The second half would be a very different story, though. XU struck fire once again. At one point, they hit 8 out of their last 10 shots and held Ohio scoreless for 4 whole minutes. It was still a tight game, though, with 6 minutes left to go. Ohio just down 5 points thanks to their 50% three-point percentage at the time. But Xavier finished those 6 minutes off with a 17-1 run, decimating the Bobcats. Xavier sophomore Paul Scruggs put the game away down the stretch for the Muskies, scoring 21 points on 8 for 9 shooting. Jason Carter led the point total for the Bobcats, putting up 17 points with 4 rebounds, and behind him was Tavion Kirk with 11. After the game, Coach Saul Phillips explained why he thought the Bobcats fell short in this one.
I'd say turnovers and bad shots, and again, that's pretty much a formula for disaster with whatever team you are. We have a good team that came in here. We've got a good team leaving, and it's disappointing to lose, but we better turn around in a hurry because we got a good Radford team coming in.
Phillips and the Bobcats will have a chance to rally back against that Radford team on Saturday in the Convo. Tip-off for that game is at 3:30. And although that Ohio basketball team lost, the other one got a victory last night. The women's basketball team stayed perfect last night by taking down Big Ten member Purdue. 80-73, the Bobcats took advantage of a great second quarter, outscoring the Boilermakers 26-9 in that span. Sophomore guard CeCe Hooks had a career night, scoring 31 points, a new high for her. She did it on 11 from 20 shooting from the field. Her, among other Bobcats, said after the game that they had some nerves coming into this one.
I think it took a little bit. We all had some nerves knowing Purdue is a big school and they were going to come in and come after us after beating them at their place last year. There was going to be a little bit of a revenge game for them. So I think just after getting those nerves out in the first quarter and adjusting, I think we got our heads on straight and we really attacked that.
Switching to high school basketball, make sure to be on the lookout for our Hardwood Heroes crew coming out to games tonight. The slate for tonight, in the game of the week, Vinton County travels to Alexander. Belpre will be facing off against the new and improved Trimble Lady Tomcats. Nelsonville York finds themselves playing Megs, and the Waterford Lady Wildcats will travel to Miller to play the Lady Falcons. I'm Nick Niehaus, and that's it for sports. Back to you, Cameron.
Thank you, Nick. And we see tonight we're going to start off at 7 p.m. with light rain and temperatures in the upper 30s. And by 8 p.m. we're going to see a mix starting to build into the area and by 9 p.m. we're going to start to see that cold front moving through with snow overnight and with a 50% chance of seeing snow. And that should be tapering off after midnight. As we check out your 7-day forecast, tomorrow is going to be a beautiful one with 34 degrees. And the low tomorrow night is going to be 19 degrees, so it's going to be a really chilly one out there for you tomorrow night. And on this weekend, we're going to see mostly cloudy skies and partly cloudy skies with temperatures in the lower to upper 30s. And to start your work week off next week, we're going to start to see temperatures in the 40s and with mostly sunny skies. And then we'll start to see a chance for showers as a low pressure system starts to make its way through on Wednesday and into Thursday with temperatures up in the 40s. Over to you.
Thanks, Cameron. And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. I'm Abby Grisey.
And I'm Caitlin Coolidge. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. But first, here's a look at some of our visual team's best photos of the semester.